One headline, and I feel like my whole business is at risk. That's where it begins. A single headline. Tonight, it's the news ticker scrolling across the bottom of my muted TV screen. Interest rates surge to decade high. The words flash in red, stark against the dark of the office. My stomach tightens instantly. It's not just information. It feels like a threat. I sit at my desk, frozen. The office is silent, except for the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. Each second lands heavier than the last, matching the rhythm of my pulse. The silence is suffocating, the kind that doesn't soothe, but instead amplifies every thought until it roars. On the desk in front of me lie invoices, some waiting to be paid, some overdue, some stacked so high that they've begun to slide off one another. Their edges curl like they're straining under their own weight. I can't take my eyes off them because they feel like they're staring back at me, accusing. My fingers hover above the keyboard, restless, tapping without typing. I know I should be working. I know I should be reaching out, planning, preparing. But all I can do is stare at the red ticker on the screen, feeling my future shrink with every flicker of the headline. I whisper to myself, almost unconsciously, what if this is it? What if this crushes me? It's not the first time I felt this way. The truth is, markets have always shifted. Rates go up, rates go down. Deals flow in, deals dry up. But tonight, it doesn't feel like a cycle. It feels like a cliff. One misstep, and I plummet. I press my palms against my desk, hard, as if grounding myself in wood will keep the panic from spiraling. But the weight inside my chest grows heavier. The emptiness of the office gnaws at me. The only light is the harsh glow from the monitor, painting my face pale and stark. I imagine what my family is doing right now, probably asleep, trusting that I'm awake for the right reasons, trusting that their life is safe in my hands. That thought doesn't comfort me. It deepens the pressure. Because what if I can't protect that? What if this headline is the beginning of everything unraveling? I close my eyes for a moment, but the darkness isn't any gentler. Behind my eyelids, I see the same thing. Headlines flashing, numbers plummeting, futures collapsing. When I open them, the invoices are still there. The ticker is still red. The silence is still suffocating. And for the first time tonight, I let myself admit the fear. Maybe stability was never real. Maybe it was always fragile, just waiting for the market to expose it. The thought lodges deep, and with it, the cliffhanger that carries me into the night. If one headline can undo me, was I ever truly standing at all? Sometimes I wonder if I built stability, or if it was always fragile. That's the truth I circle back to, again and again. The root of this fear isn't just the headlines. It's the nature of what I do. Commission-based income sounds exciting to outsiders. Unlimited potential, they say. Be your own boss. Earn as much as you're willing to work for. But no one talks about the flip side, the volatility, the unpredictability, the way the ground shifts every time the market twitches. And tonight, that unpredictability feels unbearable. I think of the bills lined up on my kitchen counter, mortgage payments, school fees, the endless stream of small but unignorable expenses, uniforms, groceries, petrol. I think of my wife, trusting me to keep things steady. I think of my kids, too young to understand numbers, but old enough to feel tension when it seeps into the home. It's not just money at stake. It's the story I tell them about safety, about provision, about who I am as a father, a husband, a leader. So when a headline blares, it's not just economics, it's identity. And the mirror questions land like punches. Do you feel like one market shift could undo years of work? Yes, too often. It feels like I could labor endlessly, build carefully, sacrifice deeply, and still watch it evaporate because of forces I can't control. Do financial headlines keep you awake at night? Yes. They slip under my skin, needle their way into my dreams. I've woken at 3 a.m., sweating, convinced the numbers had already collapsed, even before checking. This is the cost of tying stability to the market instead of to resilience. The news ticker flickers red again, catching my eye. Its glow reflects against the invoices, turning the paper edges crimson. It looks like fire spreading across the desk, a silent alarm. I whisper the thought aloud, bitterly. Sometimes I wonder if I built stability, or if it was always fragile. The words taste metallic, like admitting weakness I can't afford. But somewhere inside, a small voice pushes back. A reframed wisdom I can't quite embrace yet, but it lingers. Markets change. Resilience doesn't. At first, I want to dismiss it. It sounds like a platitude, too soft against the hardness of red numbers and unpaid invoices. But even as I reject it, I know there's truth there. The market has changed before. It will change again. What kept me standing wasn't luck, but adaptation, adjustment, persistence. Still, tonight the fear feels louder. The wisdom is only a whisper. The clock ticks on, steady, impartial. The silence deepens. The red ticker glows. And I sit here, torn between two voices. The one that says, "This storm will sink me," and the one that whispers, "You've weathered storms before." The tension hangs unresolved. The headline hit again. This time, not on the TV ticker, but on my phone. A push notification, blunt and unfeeling. Central bank raises interest rates. Markets react sharply. The words might as well have been carved into my chest. I felt my breath shorten. My eyes dropped to the invoices stacked unevenly across the desk. Some were already past due, others waiting on commissions that hadn't cleared. Suddenly, they didn't just look like paper. They looked like a pile of unpaid futures. I gripped the edge of the desk, knuckles white, but my body felt powerless. My head dropped into my hands, elbows pressing grooves into the wood. The posture wasn't a choice. It was collapse. And the thought loop began. This will crush me. This will crush me. It didn't matter how many times I tried to push it away. Each repetition grew heavier, pressing down until I could barely think of anything else. The silence of the office didn't soothe me. It mocked me. The tick of the clock was no longer steady. It was taunting. Each second sounded like another step toward failure. I imagined headlines that hadn't even been written yet. Small firm closes doors after market crash. Local broker fails under pressure. My name in print. Not as a story of resilience, but as a cautionary tale. Shame wrapped itself around me like a cloak. My family's faces flashed in my mind. My wife's quiet trust. My kids' innocent belief that I was steady, safe, unshakable. How could I look at them if I let this collapse us? The invoices blurred as tears pressed at the corners of my eyes. I hated myself for it. Hated that the numbers, the market, had this kind of power over me. But in that moment, I couldn't stop it. I whispered again, broken. Maybe I should scale back. Maybe I wasn't built for storms like this. The words hung in the air, fragile, dangerous. The lowest point wasn't an explosion. It was surrender. The quiet giving up. The thought that maybe survival wasn't possible. And still, the clock ticked. Tick, tick, tick. Each sound carving into the silence, reminding me that time doesn't stop for fear. For a long moment, I sat there, head bowed, shoulders slumped, drowning in the echo. This will crush me. But then, through the blur of invoices and headlines, my eyes caught on something small. A family photo, sitting in a frame beside the chaos. It wasn't new. I'd seen it 1,000 times. But tonight, it glowed differently in the lamplight. My wife's smile, steady and kind. My kids mid-laugh, arms tangled around me. A moment captured not in crisis, but in life. Something shifted. The invoices were heavy, yes. The headlines screamed, yes. But that photo reminded me. I've stood in storms before. We've weathered tight months, unexpected losses, sudden shifts, and somehow we endured. Not because the market was kind, but because I adapted. Because resilience was already in me. The whisper I'd dismissed earlier returned, stronger now. Markets rise and fall, but I've built skills that don't break with them. I straightened slowly, lifting my head from my hands. My breath deepened, shaky at first, then steadier. I looked at the invoices again, but this time I didn't see just debt or deadlines. I saw evidence of work, proof of persistence. Each one represented a step I'd already taken, a deal I'd already delivered, a foundation I'd already laid. The reframed truth crystallized. Stability isn't in the market, it's in how I adapt. I whispered it, then firmer. Adapt. Again, stronger. Steady. And finally, full-voiced, almost defiant. Resilient. With each repetition, my chest expanded, my shoulders lifted, the tight coil in my stomach loosened. I stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city. Headlines screamed chaos, but out there, life kept moving. Lights flickered in apartments, cars streamed steadily down streets. The Yarra River flowed on without hesitation. Markets might rise and fall, but life didn't stop. Neither should I. I turned back to the desk, back to the invoices, back to the photo, and I said aloud, "Steady now. I can weather volatility because resilience is my true equity." The fear hadn't vanished. The storm was still real, but it no longer felt like it would crush me. It felt like something I could stand in, something I could face, something I could endure. And in that moment, I wasn't powerless anymore. I can weather volatility because resilience is my true equity. That's the truth I kept repeating as the night dragged on, and it became the seed for a practice I could carry forward. The invoices were still scattered on my desk. The red ticker still flickered across the screen. but I decided I couldn't sit paralyzed anymore. I needed something small, something tangible to shift the weight in my body. So I closed the laptop. I sat back in my chair, feet flat on the ground, hands resting lightly on my knees. I told myself I didn't need to solve the market tonight. I didn't need to predict the future. All I needed to do was breathe. I inhaled for 4 counts, slow and deliberate. I felt the air move into my lungs, expanding my chest, lifting my shoulders. Then I exhaled for 6 counts, longer, steady, letting the breath carry some of the panic out with it. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first few cycles were shaky. My mind still chased headlines, still tried to measure losses, still darted back to the invoices, but I kept going. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With each repetition, my feet pressed firmer into the ground. I imagined roots growing down from my soles into the floor, steadying me, anchoring me like a tree in shifting soil. The storm outside, the markets, the headlines, the volatility, it could rage all it wanted, but my roots held. I whispered the affirmation in rhythm with the breath. Resilience is my currency. On the inhale, I received it. On the exhale, I released the fear. I practiced until the words weren't just phrases in my head. They were sensations in my body. My breath steadier, my shoulders looser, my chest less constricted. The invoices were still there. The news ticker was still red. But inside, I had shifted. Even in the middle of uncertainty, I felt proof. I could steady myself. I could weather this moment. It wasn't a solution to the market. It was a solution to the panic. And sometimes, that's the most important first step. When I finally opened my eyes, I noticed the light changing outside the office window. Dawn was beginning to rise. The city was waking, and I felt ready to face it, not frozen by it. Even in this small practice, I felt the weight shift. Markets rise and fall, but resilience is the foundation I stand on. That's the truth I'm carrying out of this week. At work, it changes the way I meet the day. The headlines still flash, the markets still swing, but I don't greet them with the same helpless dread. I remind myself of the roots under my feet, the breath in my chest, the skills I've built over years of storms. I remember that stability doesn't live in numbers alone. It lives in the way I adapt. With family, the shift is visible. I come home less drained, less haunted. My wife notices it in the way I speak, steadier, less frantic. My kids notice it too, though they don't have the words. They feel it in the way I sit with them, fully present, not half lost in tomorrow's panic. Inside myself, the biggest shift is in identity. For years, I thought of stability as something outside of me, a paycheck, a market trend, a contract signed. But now, I see that resilience is my true equity. It's not out there. It's in here. It's in the breath, the roots, the proof that I can stand in storms without breaking. I hold on to a simple mantra. Resilience is my equity. The image that stays with me is the one from that night. My feet planted firmly, rooted like a tree, while the headlines flickered above. That's the image I carry forward. Not the collapse, but the steadiness inside the storm. Resilience is my equity. Feet planted, breath steady, roots holding in shifting soil. Markets may rise and fall, but resilience is the foundation I stand on.